All right, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. I'm super excited to be with you on this episode, on this broadcast. I've got a great hero in the faith of mine personally from my studies and things, and I can't wait to introduce you to him and tell you about him. This is Dr. Aaron Judkins. Aaron, thank you for coming on today and being with me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's great to be here.
Let me give you a little bit of background for those that you may not know, but Dr. Judkins is a biblical archaeologist. He's an author. He's a film producer, mostly known for Finding Noah. He's got a master's degree in biblical studies and a PhD in biblical archaeology. And again, his first academic advisor was Dr. Clifford Wilson, who conducted field work at Hebrew Union College in Jerusalem, and under Dr. William F. Albright, and served as the area supervisor for the excavation Israel. And then also Dr. Judkins worked on the archaeological projects, including the excavations of the Pool of Siloam in Jerusalem in 2004. Some of you may have seen videos of that area and the pictures of that area, of what's been happening and why the significance of the Pool of Siloam. He's also been with the search of Noah's Ark in eastern Turkey and excavations of the new discovery of the Dead Sea Scroll, Cave 12 in Qumran in Israel in 2017. Oh my goodness, that is just amazing. He's helped map the longest continuous dinosaur trackway in North America, Glen Rose in Texas, and he's helped solve the Los Lunas Mystery Stone in New Mexico. And you've probably seen him on numerous radio shows and television programs, TBN, Coast to Coast, you name it, he's been out there. And again, this is super exciting for me to have and to host the maverick archaeologist, Dr. Judkins, on. And so we're going to be diving in today. We're going to hit a few topics, but mostly I want to go ahead and make you known about his newest book that's just come out, Decoding Göbekli Tepe. All right? He, along with Dr. Judd Burton, have co-authored this book, and we're going to get into why this area, why this territory. I can't wait for him to lay this out for you. So, Dr. Judkins, if you don't mind, give me a little bit of the inspiration and background behind this book. Why here?
Why Göbekli Tepe?
Yes, why Göbekli Tepe?
Yeah, great question. So, I have a lot of people that follow my work, and one in particular is a guy named Roger who lives in Canada. And he reached out to me one day and he said, Dr. Judkins, have you looked at Göbekli Tepe, the site of Göbekli Tepe there? And I said, well, I've heard about it. I actually reference it in my very first book, Alien Agenda, The Return of the Nephilim. I said, I know about it. And he goes, well, will you consider writing a book on it, or not really writing a book? It was just more would you investigate this site? And he gave me some of the theories that he thought it was. And I said, look, I really don't have time to get into, an in-depth research project on the site. Mm-hmm. And he hit me up like another 2 or 3 times after I told him no. And, when I really first looked into it, it just shattered all my preconceived notions about the site. And I thought, wow, there's really something happening here. And so as I began to consider it, I realized that this was really, really something major going on at this site. And I asked my colleague, Dr. Judd Burton, if he would consider co-writing a book with me on it, because there was just so much things there that was coming out of the ground that should not be there at this time period.
Yeah, come on.
And so when I asked Dr. Burton, and he said, Aaron, he said, I'm all in on it. So that's really my inspiration on how I really got to investigate the site of Göbekli Tepe. Oh,
wow. Good deal. Let's talk a little bit, and most of you, if you know him, you know this term, sacred space. And so how does this area and this location relate to sacred space with, ancestor deification, that type of thing back then?
So this is a site, Göbekli Tepe is a site in southeastern Turkey. Now this is biblical Anatolia, Asia Minor. This is where Paul went into some of his early missionary journeys. Turkey really has a lot of ancient biblical ties that goes right back to the very beginnings. And so the sacred space, so look, when Klaus Schmidt with the German Institute of Archaeology, he was asked, I think in the mid-90s, to come and look at the site because it got misidentified as a Byzantine survey back in the 1960s.
Okay.
So when he went to look at it, he realized, hey, this is a Neolithic site, and there's something major happening. So when they started excavations, they realized that there were these circular oval enclosures, and they were all under the ground, all of them. It hadn't even been excavated yet. But as they began to excavate these enclosures, and the main one is enclosure D. D as in David, enclosure D. It took about 10 years to excavate this one site.
Wow.
But look, they realized that some of these enclosures were set apart. Why? Because they found plaster. There's plaster on the floors. There were plaster on the walls. And even in the regional sites around Göbekli Tepe, the same thing. They're finding plaster on the floors. This sets it aside as sacred space because it was not a common area for you to be in. It was an area or a space for them to perform some kind of ritualistic function or some religious ideology, something that they were doing in that particular space. They used it. So it'd be like in your house, right? You have spaces set apart. You have the kitchen, you have the living room. You're not gonna cook a meal in your bedroom, right? It's a separate it's a separate space.
Yeah.
In the church, you have the sanctuary. It's not something that you're gonna go afterwards. Maybe if you have a potluck at your church, you're gonna do that in a separate area. The sanctuary is considered a separate space. This at this time period in the Neolithic, these areas were considered sacred space because there was something set apart for a special purpose, and that's why we have these plastered floors with bench seating, so people can sit around, in particularly enclosure D. So this was not a normal space where you just go in and do everyday activity. This was set aside for a special purpose.
Wow. And it's hard to say what those purposes were necessarily, right? But any ideas or any thoughts there?
Oh, yeah. So in the book, we're proposing some new theories about this. We in particularly look at enclosure D, and I think one of the theories we're proposing is called the regeneration theory.
Okay, yeah.
And so now this may not be true for all the enclosures, but in particularly there's a theme. There's a central theme that keeps reoccurring, and that is the theme of regeneration. This is the theme of their cosmological view of life after death.
Okay.
And so another theory we're proposing is a linguistic connection with the site, which is not supposed to be there. But in particularly, what they were doing in these sacred spaces were probably related to at least the two tall central figures in enclosure D. Those are 18.5-foot tall stone pillars that you see on the cover of the book.
Wow.
And they're set aside for a particular purpose. They're larger than any of the other T-column pillars in the area. But in particularly, they would go in. There was a procession that you had to walk into that space. It was probably roofed at one time, so it wouldn't be open to the sky as it is now. But you would go in there. There would be a circular bench seating you would go into. And look, when you have these two 18.5-foot tall pillars, and you're probably walking in there with torchlight, that there's something happening in those spaces that they're doing, and it has to do with life and death.
Wow. That's, man, there's just so much to uncover here.
Yeah.
With all this. And you said something earlier about the linguistic and maybe even the cultural ties. What's happening there? What kind of relationship are we seeing there versus for the timeline and everything?
So something that really stood out to me, a lot of interpretations, or the modern interpretations, contemporary interpretations, is that it's just art motifs. Now you have a lot of zoomorphic imagery on the stones there. Zoomorphic meaning animals. So they're in bas relief. That's an artistic term. So they're not just carved into the stone; they carve the stone around them to make them pop out.
Wow.
Like
okay.
in a 3D kind of things. But it's all embedded into the stone. So a lot of different animals. But these animals, there's foxes, there's scorpions, there's serpents, there's vultures, there's lions. And usually these animals tend to represent the Holocene period, but they're all something that can kill you or harm you or sting you or bite you.
Yeah.
You know, and so you have a lot of this different imagery, but also you have different symbols that really we don't know exactly. At least our early archaeologists excavating this didn't really understand what they were. I think this has a tie, going back to the linguistics, to Luvian logograms, which is something that most people probably are not familiar
I was going to say,
with.
you're going to have to elaborate on that one.
Yeah.
Interpretation, please.
Yeah, so Luvians, this is a form of Anatolian hieroglyphics that was used.
Okay.
The Luvians were contemporaneous with the Hittites, and they lived kind of next door. The Hittites actually adopted, so they wrote in just a normal everyday using cuneiform script, but they had a second script that they used, the Luvians, which was called logograms. So a logogram is a symbol that represents a word.
Okay.
The logograms, however, so you got silograms and logograms. So the logogram is one letter or symbol, if you will, not a letter, but a symbol represents a word. So if you're writing on stone, you don't have a lot of space and you need to get it right the first time. They used logograms. It was an abbreviation. They used logograms for formal monumental writing on stone.
Wow. Okay.
This is exactly what we're seeing at Göbekli Tepe. So one of the symbols that popped out at me was a Luvian logogram symbol for Deus. Now that's transliterated into the Latin, Deus, meaning God.
God. Okay.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah.
It's a very clear, defined symbol for Deus. We know what that means. It's verified and vetted in archaeology, in linguistics. We know what that symbol means. That symbol of Deus is on the stones at Göbekli Tepe.
Wow. So now we're getting into this place being sacred space. We're getting this place connected to deity, right?
Right.
So now this becomes a whole nother place of worship, potentially, right?
Yeah, early archaeologists, even Klaus Schmidt, called it a temple. Now the archaeologists in charge now don't like to call it a temple. Matter of fact, they kind of shy away from that term. They don't want to call it that because that signifies some religious aspect. After all, these were people of the Neolithic, and this is not really supposed to be a predominant theme. However, what my co-author, Dr. Jed Burton, said was this Göbekli Tepe is a paradigm that is changing the paradigm.
Come on.
And what's happening is that in the Neolithic, which is what we would think of as Stone Age, before the invention of writing, before the invention of pottery, before the invention of the wheel, you have megalithic architecture that's not supposed to be there. Megalithic architecture in the Stone Age. This is totally not supposed. Archaeologists did not expect to see this early.
Wow.
So what happens is that when there's something like this associated with architecture to this scale, that shows a division of labor, that shows organization. That does not imply a simple hunter-gatherer that's just trying to learn how to make fire and it shows a complex society. That's intelligent.
Wow.
And that's what we're seeing at Göbekli Tepe.
Wow. Boy, that challenges some narratives, don't it?
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. Yeah.
Timelines, everything.
Yeah.
My goodness. Wow. I know there's going to be more that's going to unravel from this place. It's going to be. I'm sure it already is a hot spot for those that understand or study scripture or study into some of these things, especially when you get back to biblical connections. Sacred space, ziggurats, cosmic mountains, gardens, places where things were worshipped. All of that. let's again, you kind of hit there with how things kind of reshape our understanding of timeline, how it would reshape our understanding of that Neolithic period with a spiritual side, understanding spiritual side. There, we don't know much about a spiritual side of that time frame, Neolithic. So again, going back, another way to challenge that timeline is having the plaster on the floors, the sacred space, all the things. There's in the Dios there, that there's the spiritual side. How does that correspond to that time frame, or how does that lean to that alternate time frame?
Yeah, so this is really kind of baffling archaeologists, because really the site of Göbekli Tepe is implying religious ideology before agriculture. So the common theme was that agriculture came along first. That put people into a settled, sedentary lifestyle that formed communities, and then they formed defensive positions because of the agriculture and the food. You got to defend all that.
Yeah.
That created the first, kind of cities, and then the culture, and then as a result of all that, religion came last. And Göbekli Tepe says, nope, that's not what's happening. It's religious ideology that brought the people together first.
Wow.
Before agriculture. Why? Because this sits along the Jurmis mountain range. It's on one of the highest points of the Jurmis mountain range. It overlooks the ancient plain of Haran.
Whoa.
This is
okay.
where Abraham.
Abraham. Yeah.
Yeah, Abraham was birthed in this area. He grew up in Haran. His dad Terah
was a what there? Idol work? Yeah.
Yeah, he worshipped the moon god. They had already deified the moon. Jericho is contemporaneous with Göbekli Tepe, and guess what they were doing in Jericho?
Yeah, worshiping.
They were worshiping the moon god.
Wow.
They were worshiping the moon god.
Man, you're connecting dots for me right here. I'm about
so
to
get
explode.
this.
It's
So
good.
God waits till Terah dies. He calls Abram out at 75 years old, and he goes, I want you to come out of this area, and I'm going to show you an area that I'm going to give to you, to your descendants. He's calling Abram out of the area where they're already worshiping other gods.
They're already, yeah.
So Abraham's very familiar with this, because after all, his father Terah worshipped these gods. As a matter of fact, in the book of Jasher, now some people say Yasher, I say Jasher, because I'm from Texas.
Come on, I'm Tennessee, I'm with you, yeah.
So in the book of Jasher, which now I'm not saying this is doctrine. I'm not saying a spirit. I'm not saying a spirit written. I'm just saying that the text implies that his dad had 12 different gods who represented one god for every month.
Wow.
That's why there were 12.
12, wow.
And so we don't know exactly what one of these gods are, but look, later in Akkadian history, and then later on in Samaria, you have the worship of the moon god. And that's very prevalent in that culture. So the moon god image, and not only that, the deification of the bull shows up at Göbekli Tepe.
Okay, yeah. Let's go there a little bit. Can you connect there about the bull? Yep.
Yeah, so there's a lot of imagery. I was talking about the zoomorphic imagery. One of those images is the image of a bull. Now, the people of the Neolithic, again, Stone Age, are known as people of the bull. Okay, so it's like if you can think of Native Americans here, at least in the American Southwest, their main staple was the bison, the buffalo. That's what they lived off of. They moved with the herds.
Yeah,
they were nomadic. People at Göbekli Tepe, it was a fertile crescent. Ample supplies of two different wild type of wheat, wild barley, all kinds of animals, gazelles, wild pigs, plenty of game, grain, and water. So they didn't really have to travel far. But one of their primary sources was the bull. It was called an ancient auroch bull. They were very, very large. It probably took a dozen men to bring one of these creatures down. But look, the people of the Neolithic not only used the bull for food and for life, but I think they deified the image of the bull. So the ancients, we know, looked at constellations and the stars, and they revered them. In the cosmology of the people at Göbekli Tepe, we see that they were venerating the constellations, and I think in particularly they were venerating the constellation Taurus.
Ah, the bull.
The bull.
Yeah, wow.
So we have the images of the bull, but let me just tie it into the Bible real quick about the 4 faces of the cherubim. So the cherubim has 4 faces: the face of a man, the face of a lion, the face of an eagle, and the face of an ox or a bull.
Yeah.
Now, when Lucifer falls, he is a fallen cherub. He takes on the image of the bull. This is why you see in ancient cultures bull worship, calf worship, when you have ancient Israel melting down
in
gold
the wilderness,
and creating a golden what?
Golden calf.
Golden calf.
Yeah,
golden calf.
Yeah.
Why? Because they came out of Egypt, they were familiar with those gods, and they just recreated one. But so they have already deified these. A lot of things in nature, of course, the Egyptians already deified the sun, etc. But look, when they start deifying the image of the moon and the image of the bull, what they are doing, either knowingly or unknowingly, they are worshiping the image of Lucifer.
Wow.
Now, this all goes back to an implications of what my co-author, Dr. Judd Burton, implies in his work in the book, is that there were, there's implications from the Watchers. That influenced mankind, and we see that from the book of Enoch, where it states all that, and your listeners are probably familiar with that. But look, when you have the Watcher influence, and look, you're past the Garden of Eden, obviously. They've lost a connection. What I told Dr. Michael Heiser when he was live when we were on his show, French Pop 321.
Yes.
It's a lost connection that they lost with the garden. They had fellowship with God. They communed with God. They walked with Adam and Eve, walked with him in the garden. But look, when they lost the keys to the garden, they lost their fellowship. They lost an intimate fellowship with God. So 2 things happened. There were 2 deaths that happened. 1, that they died an immediate spiritual death, and 2, that they would die a physical death.
Wow.
That wouldn't be till later, but they would eventually die a physical death. The cultures that come after the flood, and of course you get Nimrod and these cultures that come around Göbekli Tepe, they have lost the connection with God. So now you have your first type of shadow antichrist in Nimrod.
Okay.
Who brings the people together and says, hey, we're going to get back at God for bringing on the flood on our grandfathers, and we're going to do this thing. And God commands them to what? Scatter.
Scatter, yeah.
But they do the opposite.
Yep.
What do? They're doing 3 things. They're making a name. They're building a city, and they're building a tower. Wow. And Nimrod is doing this, in Derek Gilbert's work, he says they're not doing it in Iraq, they're doing it at Eridu. The Tower of Babel was at Eridu, because this is over another temple complex that was dedicated to the god Enki.
Oh my goodness.
So it wasn't just building the tower up high, which is what they were doing, but there was something under that temple. Oh, wow. That's connected to the god Enki that they were trying to release. Now, that's speculation.
Right.
But look, in archaeology, that bears out. There was a temple to Enki there. They were building something over that, and if they're trying to release some kind of, if Nimrod's trying to release something from the port, something from the netherworld.
Yeah, from the interdimension. Yeah,
it makes you think, why there?
Wow.
Well, look, this is one of the first times God actually physically intervenes. He sees what they're doing, and he says, we're going to put a stop to this. We got to go down,
yeah.
Why?
Wow.
Why does God come down and go, we're going to put a stop to this? Because if he doesn't, they're going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And God can't allow that. That's something he cannot allow. So he physically intervenes at the Tower of Babel, scatters them through the division of languages. And this is where you have the division of nations. And God sets aside 70 principalities over those nations. And he says, look, if you're going to rebel and you want to do it your way, I'm going to put principalities over you, and I'm going to relegate you over to the enemy. So here you go.
Yeah.
This is what you want. So
I'm going to give you over to what you want.
Yep. So this is it right here. I'm going to take one man named Abram, and I'm going to give him a place that I'm going to call my people and my nation, and I'm going to bring them out of all of this mess.
All this that just got scattered.
I'm going to bring them out, and I'm going to show the enemy that I can take a man who is righteous and bring them forth in a nation that will be holy, that will usher in the kingdom.
Wow, come on.
Despite of their failures, despite of Israel's rebellion and not following the law and messing up time and time again, and God judges them for that harshly.
Yeah.
Harshly. But look, he says no matter what, it's not going to be based, and this is why he cuts that covenant with Abraham, but he puts Abraham to sleep because it's not conditional on Abraham's work.
Oh, come on.
So when they cut a covenant, they would sacrifice an animal, and you would have to walk between the
pieces.
two halves.
Yeah.
And he says, Abraham, you're out of the picture because this is all going to be on me. This is all going to be on me. So you're going to sleep for a little bit. I'm going to cut this covenant that I can't break. And just watch how I'm going to do this. And this is the very beginnings of all that going back to Göbekli Tepe.
Oh, my goodness. Guys, did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? Right here. Get in here.
Oh, there's a lot more. Oh,
there's
so much more.
There's so much more in this.
Look, this is the first book about Göbekli Tepe written from a biblical perspective.
Yeah.
There's no other book out there like it. It took over 5 years of research to research this book. There was no common source where you could find all this information. So it took a lot of time to pull all these resources together. And if you follow the footnotes and the references in the book, you're going to get an education.
Yeah.
That's kind of the depth and the breadth of the book. I encourage people to go and look all that up because there's a lot there. And it took me places I didn't even realize I was going to have to go, like the Ice Age and the flood and the chronology and just things really. And so it took 5 years of time to get into, to really put this together. But in the end, it shows that Göbekli Tepe is, I think, the very beginnings and the origin of Baal worship. And when you see the image of Baal, I get this, when you see the image of Baal, you see another image, another deity that pops up in ancient history. And that's the deity, that's a deity that we know in ancient times as Ishtar. And as Ashtaroth.
Oh, my goodness.
Now today I'm going to be talking about that, and tomorrow, but look, here at the conference. But look, in the appendix of the book, I've got appendixes in the book because they're not central to the book idea, but in the back of the book, I talk about another deity that's happening today, another apparition that people are seeing called the Lady. And the Lady is always tied to another deity of Baal. So when you see one, you see the other.
Wow.
So I mean, just think about it. So for instance, the image of the Lady. This is appearing at mass witness sightings.
Yeah.
It appeared to a mass of about 3,000 people that the Catholic Church.
I was going to say the Catholic Church has
verified.
Yep.
This sighting. It's called the Lady. It refers itself to the Lady. But look, there's something happening with this because the Lady doesn't ever point back to God.
Jesus,
Or to the
Yeah,
Lord.
the Lord.
It doesn't do any of that.
Yeah.
What it says is it's a spirit of feminism. It's the spirit of feminism, and I'm talking New Age. Feminism.
Yeah.
That there is so they're proclaiming, at least what this thing is proclaiming is that there's an age of feminism coming. What's interesting in the book that I came across a study called the Universe 25 study. It was done in the 1960s. And scientists took mice and they put them in optimal conditions to thrive, not just to survive, but to thrive. Perfect temperature, perfect environment, right amount of food, water, everything perfect for them to thrive. They put them in, the mice begin to thrive. They're very social kind of creatures, which I didn't know. But as they begin to thrive and the numbers multiplied very quickly, something strange happened. The males began to segregate and isolate, which is not normal.
Yeah.
The females became very aggressive. Very dominant, very aggressive. There was also something happening that they were changing genders. in the study,
Oh, my.
and the whole
Okay.
culture of the mice begin to deteriorate, despite optimum conditions. Why? Why did this happen? If you can take that study, and we talk about more in the book, but look,
Yeah.
if you can take that and you can put it on a scale of where we're at today, and you say, God has given us ultimate conditions to thrive. Now, we're in a
Right.
fallen world.
Yeah,
We live
yeah.
in sin. You know, there's in a sinful, fallen world.
Right.
There's things happening we have to contend with. But look, God's given us a mind and hands and things to and He's given us the Spirit of His Son
Yeah.
to overcome.
Yeah.
We're not part of the world.
And we
we're
now have the
overcomers.
mind of Christ as well, too.
That's
So,
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But look, no matter what our forefathers did, and they set up a republic, a democracy founded on the republic,
Yeah.
for which it stands.
Yeah.
That's the central part. It's the republic that counts. I mean, we're a democracy, but it's based on the republic. But you have all that, but yet we're having identity issues
Yeah.
with our kids.
Yeah.
We're having gender blending
Yeah.
issues. And the spirit of
Wow.
Ishtar and Ashtaroth can do something that the other one can't, and that it can change genders.
Wow.
It changes genders.
Wow.
So we see this throughout ancient history, changing genders, but then we're seeing this spirit today of changing genders.
Yeah.
It's a spirit behind
the whole thing.
what's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
So we get into why is it relevant today? Why is an ancient site in Turkey relevant today? Well, that tells you why.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
we get into more about that, but we go to the very beginnings, and then we kind of take you to where we're at today.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
There's so much.
There's
so
so
much, there.
much with this.
much there,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, we're gonna have to have you back and break and do a whole post thing on this, guys out there. Go get this. Go get the book. We'll put a graphic up as well, and links in the description. So make sure you go get this. I mean, anybody that's remotely hungry and thirsty for the things of God, I mean, it's laid out. It's got scholarly backing to it. And just well done. And you heard how it ties everything into the scripture. I mean, there's really nothing new under the sun, and this is bringing us all back. These rocks are literally crying out of an unseen realm becoming a seen realm, and all the things that's going on. Wow. Any other thing you'd like to add in?
Well, we got it on Kindle now.
Okay.
So Kindle fans, it's up on Audible. So if you want to listen to it on
Okay.
Audible, we got it on Audible now. So
I actually have it on Audible, so yeah, I was going to put it out there.
right,
Yep.
nice, yeah,
Yep. So I've got a paper. I like paper copies too, though.
Oh,
I'm a paper copy type of guy. So.
yeah, I am too. You know, when the grid goes down, all you got is physical copies.
Exactly.
and
That's
why
me.
That's why I have it. But look, it's something that we want to encourage you to read and use it, as a reference, or put it, as another tool in your reference library. There's so much there to unpack. I think you'll really get an education there. And then we ask that if you do read the book and if you just go back to Amazon and leave us a review on there, that really helps trend the book on Amazon. But when it first released on Amazon, it trended #1 in archaeology, #1 in prehistory, and #1 in ancient knowledge.
Wow. Come on.
Thanks guys for helping us out with that.
Yeah, come on. Oh my goodness. Well, Dr. Judkins, it's been amazing. Thank you. This has been definitely an honor. I was so happy when I saw that you were here at this conference, and I was like, and we were going to be here, and I was just like, okay, our paths finally meet. Definitely, I was like, I've got to get him on here. I've got to get him on the broadcast, on the show, and we've got to talk Göbekli Tepe, because I've been pointing people to it, and I've been waiting on this book to come out. And say, hey, you got to go understand this, guys, and it really bridges the gap on some things. So thank you for being here. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And again, go get the book. I'm not going to, it's well worth it. It's all been laid out there. You're going to increase in your knowledge and increase in your understanding, and it's going to be a great resource to help disciple for the days ahead. Not just, even now, but also the days ahead. I'm telling you, there's going to be more about this coming out. You're going to hear more about it, I'm sure, in the news in the years to come. as the Lord tarries or whatever, you're going to see more about it and learn more about it as it comes about. And it's going to be, it's already a very important location, and you're going to see more about it coming out. So thank you for doing the groundwork. Thank you for your labor. Thank you for your labor in the kingdom. I appreciate all that and everything that you do. So guys, until next time, we'll see you again on Faith Vision Network, and thank you for being part of this.